Hunger Games was a series I never fully participated in. I read the first 2 books and I watched the first movie, but all in all, I've never really got into it. After watching the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, I can confidently say that the critics are wrong and the fans know exactly where it's at. If you haven't been keeping up with the series, this movie is a prequel, so like me, you can go into it completely blind and still have fun watching it. However, if you are a fan of the series, there are plenty of Easter eggs and references that are mentioned that take place later on. I love when movies act like mythologies, showing us the rise, or in this case, the fall of a character, giving us lessons along the way and seeing their experience through this journey. Ballad of Songbird and Snakes not only does this, but ties it all into the Hunger Games series, giving us lessons of pride, loyalty, and love, and showing us what happens when you mix all those things with self-interest. The biggest praise I can give this movie is that everything has purpose. Nothing is left to waste. The imagery, dialogue, and even the exposition all serve the plot. And I gotta go into this just a little bit before I give you guys a summary of the movie, but even things like color, where red symbolizes power, white will show purity, and yellow gives off joy and optimism. They are put in place, and the characters will act out based on what color is surrounding them at that moment. But in order for you guys to understand what's great about the rest of this movie, let's do a quick rundown. Hunger Games is where a bunch of kids are taken from a bunch of different territories around the country and forced to kill each other. It's kind of messed up. This time around, the rich people are getting bored of the games, and so they're kind of losing funding. I know, crazy. And their big idea is to make it a spectacle, turn people into celebrities, into what we see the Hunger Games be in the future. And how are they going to go about doing that? Well, they're going to use more kids. Now, watching the conflict and internal struggle of these characters is the surface level version of watching this movie. What really gets you in is whenever they start implementing things like Chekhov's gun. Moments where you see something in one scene only for them to have an effect or purpose later on in the movie that really gets you immersed into the story. I'm trying to keep this as spoiler free as possible because I want everyone to enjoy this movie, but I'm going to try to talk about some things without giving too much away. There is a scene with snakes that test our protagonist's character, essentially. And in this scene, there is a lot that is happening. They're doing world building by showing us what mutated snakes are and how the Hunger Games themselves are evolving, and showing off how a character, a mad scientist who likes to mutate things, they themselves are mutated in the way that they look. We are also given a glimpse at how brutal the society is and how it really is basically a caste system, and you are born into it, and even those at the top are fighting at each other like it's Hunger Games. Reputation, status, and power mean absolutely everything up here at the top, and we're given a glimpse at how our protagonist is meant to deal with this. Seeing how Snow stays quiet, that's actually kind of funny. Shows that he's an opportunist. He buys his time and carefully waits for the perfect time to act. On top of all of this, it's foreshadowing, showing us what's to come later on in the movie. It's screaming at us that this is foreshadowing, and it makes you as an audience member feel like you are participating in the movie. However, there are other scenes that are more subtle for more insightful watchers. When Lucy Gray gets interviewed for the first time, it is a moment of pure exposition. And you guys know how much I hate exposition, but this time it's done correctly. Honestly, this is how you should use exposition. It is in service of the plot and telling the story as a whole while informing the audience of who these characters are. Lucy Gray is charismatic, just as charismatic as the host interviewing her. And we see this because she is a performer in her own right. And she is earning that status of, oh, I am a good performer because I can be charismatic in front of a camera, instead of someone just saying, yeah, Lucy Gray, she's the most popular singer in all of our district. Not only this, but the setting around the characters are telling a story, giving us a feeling without us really knowing it. The contestants are behind bars, treated like literal animals on display. Kids want to even come up and pet them. And it's not until Lucy Gray basically turns herself into an equal, showing that everyone is human and that she can relate to even the people in the highest of the caste systems. This scene does a lot like the other scene does, setting up world building, telling us about the characters, but also more importantly, giving us more insight into who Snow is. Because there's never a moment where Snow makes a huge much monologue or dialogue, or there's no one really just talking about Snow saying, oh, he's the best in the class and he's done this and he's done that. We are having to learn about Snow through his actions. Sure, there's moments here and there where he has to give snippets of exposition just so that we understand what's happening, but for the most part, we have to experience what he's experiencing and understand the decisions he makes based on his actions. With that being said, we have a more biased opinion about the world because we are constantly seeing the decisions that Snow makes and justifying his decisions in the situations that he has to be in. So when we learn about characters or we are given out of context information, we are going to judge them in the same light that Snow does, which makes for a fantastic storytelling. We, the audience, are engaged with the main character and we feel for him. This is a story of how villains are made and not born. Through the use of symbolism, giving purpose to every scene, and having us connect to the main character as we see him go to his downfall is why I gotta give Hunger Games, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes a 9 out of 10. Until next time, play nice.